Good morning, welcome back to the shop here at Basin Motorsports. I'm Canaan. Today, we're going to do something I've never done before, and that is to add some fiber optic lighting to my Corvette with a kit from GloTrim. All right, so here is the kit I'm going to use from GloTrim. Now, there are two types of LEDs or two types of controls to go with it. I'm going to explain each and the two types of the fiber optic lighting or the cable that goes with it. So obviously this is a kit from GloTrim, and there's a link down in the description going to their website so you can kind of see and check out everything. Now the standard fiber optic lighting cable here, this is made up of approximately 800 small little glass fibers, so it's flexible, but it's very bright. Now this kit itself is the GT1. There are two types. There is a GT1 and a GT2. The GT1, think of it as having one attachment flange or sewing flange. You can kind of see down there, and this is like a welt that you've seen me here built here on the channel for the Corvette. This is just material that's folded over our fiber optic piece here, and then it is attached together. So it has one attachment flange. Now there's a GT2 that has two attachment flanges, and it's meant to more go in line with the material versus on top. Now, of course, you're going to put this in the seams, most likely along the seat when you put it in. So a GT1, you would sew kind of between the pieces of the material along this sewing line here. This will be sewn in, so this piece will go obviously in the inside between, and just the fiber optic would be sitting on top. Now a GT2 would actually be sewn, one half will be sewn to this, the other half will be sewn to that, and it will sit more flush, where this is going to sit with kind of the material edge here and the fiber optic above the surface. The GT2 is meant to be more in line with the surface, so you really wouldn't have kind of a top dress bump or anything else. Either way, the cable inside is going to be the same, or your fiber optic piece. Now the LEDs that put light through the fiber optic piece, there are two different types. There's going to be one that is a standard simple one color, and I've got a pair of these, for one for each end. And if you notice, they have a blue on there. This is going to be just a standard blue LED, so if I unscrew the top here, blue is going to come out there. The next one is going to be a multicolor or an RGB for red, green, and blue. Now this does come with a remote, it has a controller, and it has an LED on each side of it. Both are going to take 12 volt power. It is a simple positive in for 12 volts, a black for ground, and they're going to emit light. Now the remote control itself will give you power. It has some different functions to kind of flash with the music, strobe, fade, smooth, etc. And we're going to go through all these once it's installed. And if you're going to go ahead and buy the RGB kit, there is a QR code on top of the module itself in order to control this with the radio or with anything else. There's an app to download, so make sure you go ahead and download this before you install it to make sure everything's good. Now, before I take any of this over to the car, I am going to bench test it to kind of make sure everything works, to touch with it, and I'll show you how to do it here before we get installing. Now to get this started, I'm just going to go ahead and bench test everything and install them. So I'll first show you how to install them. You're going to take off the cap, which unscrews from the LED housing here. This cap is going to go over the end, and then the end of the fiber optic lighting will go in the center there all the way in until it touches and stops. Now we're going to screw that down until it's tight. And now this is all the way in. Now first I'm just going to show you how one light works. You can install one or two on this. Two is obviously going to be brighter because you'll have one source of light. But let me go ahead and turn the lights off, and we'll show you the bench testing of the light itself with the battery here. All right, so no power applied, and that is with power applied. Now as you notice, since I only have one LED hooked up, it is bright in the beginning, but as it goes through the light, it kind of tapers off. And that's what you would expect. It will transmit light all the way through this full 7-foot length of this, but adding a second light will do a difference. So again, here is just one light, and then here is with two of them installed. You can notice it's just a little bit brighter here, all the way through, off, on. And that is just our standard blue. Now let's switch over to our RGB. All right, so these connections are going to install slightly different than our previous. The single color have this screw on top here that you take off, put the filament in, and then tighten it back down. The RGB don't have a screw top here that needs to be taken out. So you can just install these in the end, and there's a set screw on them right here. I kind of bring it up, I'll show you. There's a clear set screw there. You can just tighten it down with your fingers at the beginning just to make sure it works, and then double check it once you have it all installed into the car. Now I'm going to turn off the lights. We'll show you how all of this works. Now one thing to note is the remote that comes with it does not have batteries with it. It's a CR2025 battery. So I've got a link down in the description. You can just pick up a simple set there off Amazon or something locally to install in here, and that will control all your lights. All right, with the lights off, we'll go ahead. So there is an on-off button in the top right here. Turn that on. So that is obviously on green. So if I can change it over right to the remote, you've got red, green, blue, and then you have different color variations with that. So you've got red, a little more orange, a little more yellow as I go down, and then you've got a strobing effect. You've got green. As you go down, you can start to see color changes. You've got a purple, blue, kind of a lavender, more of a pinkish like a fuchsia, all the way down. Now of course there's some fun things you can do. White itself, you can make it flash. You can make it strobe, fade, and if you just give it time, it will go ahead and go through the different colors. So you got a red, goes more to a yellow, starts going into green, etc. And then you've got a smooth, where it's just a click, click, click going straight through the colors. And of course on the remote up here, this is talking about a little bit more speed. Do the functions, you can do it there, and you can pick whatever color you want. Now I will say I'm going to go ahead and put the RGB in the car because I want this as a demonstration to potential customers. And I would want blue anyway, so I can go ahead on the remote and just pick a blue. That is fine with me. And then we'll go ahead and put this in the car, and it'll be all good. Now you've seen previously on the channel here that I have already done the seats. So I'm not going to go ahead and take advantage of sewing this into anything. It's a little too late for that. There's no point in taking these seats apart to put in one section. So I thought about just doing this alongside the console as kind of something fun. So if I pan around here, there's a little bit of section here along the console. Along the bottom here, definitely visible. It's going to go up in between and around the back. Now from here, I'm not sure if I'm going to go straight across all the way around, and then it's going to go back to the other side. All right, so now as I'm installing this in, I'll just briefly show you kind of how I'm attaching it. So this carpet tucks under the finisher here. I'm just putting this in line. I'm using a little bit of blue painter's tape, just a line here, just to mark where I want the bottom edge of this fiber optic piece to go. And then I'm just using a simple hog ring every few inches. It's probably, I don't know, 4 to 6 inches all the way down. That way it attaches it to the carpet, it stays in place, and once I tuck this back under, I'll just go ahead and show you that, but once I tuck this back under, it's now going to stay in place. I don't have to worry about it falling down or anything else. I've given myself obviously a long lead line. You can see up here in the edge, and then I'm going to start working on the back edge as I go around. So there's what's going to be your kind of your finished edge prototype product. Sitting underneath there, you can just barely see it there, but you're going to definitely see it glow when it's all in. So now I need to continue running it down the other side, and then I'll work on getting everything back together in the finishers. All right, just doing a quick test here just to make sure everything works. This is on the music setting, so it's going off, basically firing off every color, kind of going with the beats of the music here. Okay, so here's going to be the finished product of our console going together. Now you can see on the passenger side of the console, I have everything run underneath. all the way down, and it loops under right as it comes out of the e-brake into the console there. So that's probably a good 3-foot section that goes under there, and then it runs to the driver's side. And there's going to be our finished product on the driver's side itself. So you can see right at the right hand side, you have where it comes out underneath the console, runs all along, right along the bottom edge, right up onto the top, and everything is there. Now I already had a switch in here for some off-road lights I have on the front of the car. That was the red switch, so I went ahead and added in a on-off switch. Very simple. These wires are very small, so they don't draw a lot of power. Now the fun thing at this is I can run this all day long at car shows. We'll have to see how it does on drawing power, but I don't imagine much. You can just have a little remote here, and we can play with it. I can demonstrate it to customers. So there's your strobing, flashing, everything else. You can change colors, all at the push of a button. All right, so there you have it. That's the installation of a set of GloTrim. Now, again, I use the RGB or the red, green, blue, the multicolor, however you want to call it. That is what is going to stay in the car. That way I can demonstrate it to customers, anybody that wants to see it. But it's also kind of fun to play with it as it dances towards the music and the bass and the beat. Now, if you have any questions on anything I've used in here, I will throw down some links in the description, obviously over to GloTrim, so you can check out all of their options available. And I'll also put in there all the parts, the switches, wiring, tools, crimpers, everything else. I'll put a big list of things I used on this project in case you need anything in the future. Any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section. Otherwise, get out there and enjoy yourself working on your car. We'll see you next time.